William here, Patriot Containers. My last video I did was the most common customer complaint that cargo container companies get. And that one was, it's these companies that are telling you you're going to get a container in 5 to 7 days, or 7 to 10 days, or 7 to 10 business days. And that video is all about a salesperson that has no clue of when your container is going to arrive. And then you get a container 1 to 2 months later. And if you cancel, they're going to get a cancellation fee. So I truly believe in this industry, the number one complaint that crappy companies do to you guys is promising a container like within well, it is realistic if they actually ran their business correctly. They just don't. And so they overpromise a delivery date and then take your money and then they deliver way later. That's the most common one. Most common number 2 complaint. That's what this video is about. It's cargo container companies that ever since I started selling containers 13 years ago, I used to work for companies like this. A lot of companies, they'll never tell you they're going to deliver you a bad container. They're never going to tell you what these containers look like. They're never going to tell you with what they're actually purchasing for you. So a salesperson is going to mislead you on the cosmetics, but they're going to focus more on function. And even that can be a lie too. So a lot of companies, they'll tell you they have wind and watertight. Well, wind and watertight could be the ugliest thing you've ever seen in your life with no holes, and it's going to be wind and watertight. The companies, and I see the containers that they're selling to you guys and how rusty they are and the fact that they actually have holes. Those aren't wind and watertight containers. Those are what's called damaged and as-is containers that these companies are purchasing you guys at very, very low purchase prices. I can buy these containers for my customers. If I lied about it, I would get a complaint. If I told the truth about it, I would get a complaint. But where it gets really deceiving is where you have a company that's trying to win you over with a low price on a 5,000 or 8,000 pound container. And they tell you it will just have minor surface rust and maybe some dings and some scrapes. That's actually not true. It could have major, major cancer rust that's embedded into the metal. And sometimes it looks like if you had like a screwdriver and a hammer, it's going to poke right through. I read the complaints on these customers that have bought from these companies. They go and touch it and it falls apart and there's a big hole there because they're so corroded. But the company didn't tell you that. What they did is they say, yes, it's wind and watertight. Yes, we have a lifetime warranty. Yes, we're nationwide. We have 100% satisfaction guarantee. The reason I don't have any complaints is because I sell cosmetics. I do sell function, but I also sell the cosmetics. Like, what do you as a customer want this thing to look like? And a lot of people aren't ready for that question because they don't know what they want it to look like. They just want a container that's going to keep their stuff safe. When you have these companies that are overselling, they're overselling the container so much that when they purchase a crappy container from the shipping lines, they oversold it, but they under-delivered it. And that's how you guys get containers with really bad problems. And these companies, their morals and standards are so low that they don't care because, like I said in my previous videos, they're still going to get a cancellation fee. They're still going to get a restocking fee. They're still going to keep your delivery money. So it doesn't matter when it gets there, and it doesn't matter with what condition it's in because you're screwed anyways. So the number 2 complaint, the number 1 is false delivery dates. That's what these companies do. They never deliver on the right days. They told you a bunch of lies in the beginning, and then they take your order and they deliver someday, and they don't give a shit. They'll give you 10 different lies. Complaint number 2, you thought you were going to get a good container that had quality to it, because that's the way they sold it to you. but you ended up getting a rusty, crappy container with or without holes. If it has no holes, it's wind and watertight. If you bought wind and watertight and you got a crappy container with no holes, you got wind and watertight. I'm telling you, wind and watertight looks like shit, and you should not buy it. It's crap. But when you get a container with holes, excuse me, I am still kicking a cold. When you get a container with holes, that company did not purchase wind and watertight. They purchased damaged or as is. That's what they do. When you guys have companies that sell you cargo worthy to make it sound like, oh yeah, our containers are the best. And that brings up another thing I have to say about these companies. They all say the same thing. We purchase the best containers, but everybody else purchases damaged and as is, but we don't do it. Well, yes, you do it, because all you have to do is read your complaints and see the containers that you've delivered to your customers. So it's all this, everything about my videos boils down to sales. That's what this industry is. Who can sell the most? Where it gets wrong and deceiving is when you're selling with lies to make sales is why these companies have so many complaints. And again, you can go on Google, type in companies with the most complaints, BBB, and it's going to show you the 1, 2, 3 biggest companies that have the most complaints. And you probably think that they're the best container companies because they say, we're nationwide, we're the most reviewed. 100% satisfaction guaranteed. If you don't like your container, you can return it and get a full refund, or you have a lifetime warranty. Well, you should read their complaints. It's going to say the exact opposite of what they just told you over the phone. You should read the terms and conditions on their website. So yeah, complaint number 2 that these companies get the most is false expectations on the quality of these containers. When you're sold something that's nice in your head, or you go to their website and all these pictures are amazing and you think you're going to get that, but then they purchase you this and that's what shows up, and they don't care because they're still going to get paid. They're still going to keep thousands of your dollars. That is complaint number 2, quality control. These companies, if they sold with the truth, they would make less money because they're being more competitive with honest sellers. They're not honest sellers though, because they sell with lies. But they can call shipping lines that which shipping line is going to give us the cheapest containers. And that's what we need to quote to make sales. But don't tell the customer with what these really look like. Tell the customer it's wind and watertight. Tell them that we have a lifetime warranty. But if we show up with a container with holes, we're going to send them a boat patch. So yeah, the purpose of this video is the most common complaint number 2 is quality. It's these companies have such low standards that they're not purchasing you guys good containers. They purchase from whatever shipping line is going to give them the cheapest price. But there's no consistency on what you're going to get. You're going to get, it's basically like a grab bag. You spend $5 on a grab bag and there's $2 worth of junk inside of it. And that's what a lot of shipping lines do when they sell us containers. And every shipping line that I buy from, I can buy new ones from whoever gives me the cheapest price because it's new. But when it comes to used, I have got to buy from the right shipping lines that inspect for damaged, as is, wind and watertight, cargo worthy, IICL, and the new one trippers. If I have a shipping line that only inspects up to wind and watertight, well, I don't like wind and watertight containers. So I need to buy cargo worthy or IICL or new. But they don't inspect up to that quality. Well, I can't buy from them. And I've actually had this conversation with the shipping lines. And I used to buy from them many, many years ago. And I told them, I said, look, I only buy new ones from you guys because you don't inspect up to the quality that I need for my customers. But you sell containers very cheap. But I don't know. There's no consistency. And I don't know with what my customers are going to get. That's why I can't buy from you anymore. And I still have a very good relationship with these people. But I like telling people the truth and go, hey, look, man, you would have more orders from me if you guys inspected your containers up to the standards that I need for my customers. If you can't inspect to cargo worthy or IICL, I can't buy containers from you, because if I buy it from you, I don't know if it's a piece of shit or not. But that's what these other companies are doing to you guys. They don't know with what their driver's going to pick up. But on those other companies, I like to be fair here. Because they buy mystery cheap containers is the reason why sometimes somebody might get a good one, but a lot of times people might get a bad container. It's because they're purchasing their containers from the shipping lines that give them the cheapest bulk pricing for either damaged as is or wind and watertight. They're not purchasing cargo worthy or IICL. They purchase the lower class junk. That's how you guys are getting bad containers, with or without holes. So anyways, complaint number 2, quality. So yeah, there's a lot of these companies, the salespeople aren't telling you guys the truth about cosmetics. They're going to tell you about function, and still they get that wrong as well. So anyways, guys, complaint number 2, quality. These companies show up with crappy containers. Once you get one, you're stuck with it, or you can lose thousands of dollars. Whether that's 75% of your money or 100% of that money, that varies on your delivery price. If you bought a container that was $2,000 and the delivery was $1,000, and then the pickup money is $1,000, and then they charge you a restocking fee and a cancellation fee, you're probably losing 100% of your money, because that's what it says on their website. It's the whole point of my videos. So the companies I used to work for 13 years ago, they took forever to deliver. They showed up with crappy containers, but they didn't have terms and conditions on traps to trap people into basically like a scam. Like, okay, we're going to take this person's money, but whatever we do wrong, we're going to make the customer pay for it. That's where it becomes a scam. So anyways, guys, have a good one. Goodbye.